Duane, and there is also this assumption that if a man is or woman is unmarried, then he or she is not responsible and cannot do things, cannot be sort of trusted, and cannot be given certain responsibilities and or roles in society to play, cannot be a good role model, and is generally somehow looked down upon or denigrated because he has not fulfilled this institution of what they call marriage. So what do you say about this kind of stigma, and how does it influence one's real awareness?
Stigma, is that like catching a cold? I look at myself, in this, as I was writing years ago, there was a lady I was with. She was very aware. She's with Rebazar, and she was telling me that, if you keep, bringing up Harold and Joni and all this stuff, that you're not going to have any integrity. And I looked at that and I thought, okay, well, this is my adventure for right now, because this is what I came through. Okay, I'm referring to what I came through, and I'm using this as references. And so I've been through that. I'm done with it. I was done with it last year. But at a certain point, and on the real side, Rebazar came, and we went off somewhere else, and because I was like done with that business, I had closed it, and I'm no longer interested. But I used that as a reference for people, not a criticism, but as a reference. And so the same idea applies to anything. In other words, getting back to what I said with this lady, she said, you're not going to have any integrity left. Well, I said to her, I'm not interested in having any integrity, or, if I do or whatever, I don't rate what I'm doing according to having integrity or these things, etc. That's not about it. It's like a man out there in the ocean swimming for his life. He might be screaming or whatever. So it's like, where's your integrity? Can't you calm down while you're trying to survive and struggle? It's like, and all these things here in the world is a hard place, and a person can do all the so-called right things according to society, and still, this is how the world is today, right now, etc. So, again, you can say a lot of things about that, but it's up to each individual, and especially, again, with what we're presenting, and where do these things apply, or etc., or where do morals or ethics apply, etc. And just like Ava and I, we take off pictures off the internet, and I like the children myself and the animals, and so, some people say, hey, you're exploiting children, etc., and trying to get money and using children and exploiting them. Well, yes. What do you do? Again, what do you do? Nothing. So you take the chance and you deal with it. It's always a risk. It's always something you don't. You just play it straight with what everybody else decides. You see? So you have the choice there. You decide it. You decide to take the risk, or you just agree with what everybody else has decided. And Miss Mary Jane, you have to mute. Yes, because we can hear you. Yes, everybody has to mute. So again, it's a choice, isn't it, Charles? Yeah, and that's the risk you take. And I would say Trump's very brave. Of course, he's paid to be a knucklehead. This man is beyond that, but he's paid to do that. It's all purposely done. It's an act. But at the same time, he's rather brave because he has to face that, plus all his actions he has to face and what he's really doing. But he's just an example of one of many again. So people have their ideas of things, and if you want to go along with everybody else, do it. Stay in your house, watch TV, just say hi to your neighbors, then go back in your house, go to your 9-to-5 job or whatever it is, or if you're retired on Social Security, like some of my neighbors do, just stay in your house, come out once in a while, smoke a cigarette, go back in. And see, then you'll be fine, I guess, if that's all you want. So again, as you step out, and especially into this, guess what? You risk everything. Are you ready to do that? You risk everything because you're exposed to all of life. This is where you face all of life, all of creation, and the whole of life. Whoa. Yeah, it's a bigger picture than you can even imagine. So in the meantime, you go through a sea of attitudes that have been created, and you decide to comply or not, or do you decide to see what's real and stand there? Again, it's choice. And, for the most part, it's all invisible like the air you breathe. That's what sustains you. Without that invisible air, see, that's part of the isness. And when you look at the sky, that's part of the isness. And the air and the sky and the atmosphere. You're really seeing a representation, just like the sun, a reflection of the isness. And who recognizes that? Yes, it's not just seeing it, but what do you recognize from that? It's everywhere. But at the same time, on earth, you have creation and you have attitudes that are everywhere. And again, most people are bowing and kneeling to attitudes. It's just like the corporation with Joni and Harry. What are people worshiping? And the religions, what are people worshiping? It's ideas. They don't see anything else. They don't see their gods. They don't see whatever. They have experiences. They maybe have their saviors and saints and their masters come to them at night and make little visits. But overall, the idea is some kind of God or whatever. Do they see that? No, they don't see it. What are they worshiping and praying to? This is an idea. So again, you decide the ideas that you like the best, or you decide to see through all of that, recognize, and from that, be creative in some way. It's very interesting how it is, but you got to figure it out. And it's like, well, what are the real guys really doing? Actually, you have to ask yourself, what are you really doing? But again, you do whatever you want. I just like the adventure to continually figure it out, see what comes up. I like the challenge because there's always something that comes up. Ask Val and Kelsey, especially Val with the college. Yes, probably Monday or Tuesday is going to have probably more investigations going on. So there's always something coming up. And this is just how it is here. But it creates the possibility by the very fact that others decide certain things. Well, they're really wanting I see it in a way that they really want to know more from Val, but at the same time, they're resisting, you see? So it's an interesting world, isn't it, Charles? Yes. That and a lot more. Thank you for asking. Go ahead.
Yeah, Duane, you just mentioned that you're not interested, you're not running after integrity. Yeah, and we find that integrity is a good marketing ploy here, where if you want to market something, you even have to pay the press organs and all the like to create an image of you that is likable and that is it would be used as a front to pass across your message, and people go to all lengths to make themselves agreeable in view of what they have to, in view of what they are pushing, what they want to sell to the public. Don't you think that the new presentation even warrants a fake front so that we get this message across?
Well, that's the fun part, Charles, and that is that, like today we have the fake news, but, the news has always been fake, but it doesn't matter. Again, you have fun with it. Again, it's kind of like Saturday Night Live or some comedy show. That's what we're dealing with. And really, that's what creation is. It's this, it's that, it's whatever. Things come and go. This year, this car is popular. Next year, that car is popular. And then as the time goes on, this is this and this is that. This is really just how creation is. Again, as we're moving through all of this, the atoms of creation, all these atoms that become, vapor, solid, etc., whatever we make of it, the whole idea overall is to become aware of what truly is real. So, in the meantime, what is fake? What is fantasy? I just wrote a group on fantasy. And fantasy is very interesting. And that is that, as things become considered and it's like, okay, well, this is night and this is day, this is right, this is wrong. It's 10 o'clock now, it's 11 o'clock. Well, really, what time is it? Is it nighttime? Is it daytime? The sun's always up. No, it's really dark or it's light, but we call that day and night. So we've self-convinced ourselves, but the whole of life does that really exist? Not at all. Doesn't exist at all. So these are simply references that we're going through, etc., that we've become self-convinced about. And so when it comes to fake or fantasy or whatever, well, you're imagining that. That's what my mother used to tell me. Oh, you're having these experiences, you're imagining that. Well, to her, that's what it was. That was her view. She was never really interested in what I was doing, what I was experiencing. She didn't really want to hear it because she was doing her own thing, which is understandable. Everybody's on their own journey. But I see that these different aspects, in other words, like fantasy or your imagination, everybody fantasizes. Everybody does, but for the most part, they won't admit it because, in a way, the personal self, all of a sudden, it's like it's on trial. And it's like, okay, I'm guilty of this, but I don't want to admit it, that I fantasize about this or that or whatever it is. And sometimes people, as they're open about it, they laugh and giggle, but realistically, that's the private world of everybody. But that in itself is a release, just like the dreams at night. They're a release, just like Paul would talk about. You read book 6. The dreams are a release for the personal self because the personal self pushes in on itself, and it creates it's kind of like a boiler that's overheating and it needs a release to it. Or it needs a relief valve to it. And so that becomes our relief in certain ways. And many things that we experience here become relief, you see. And this is why many people, after a hard day at the office at Wall Street or something, what do? They go to the bars and have drinks. It's a release for them. Whatever it is, whatever they decide to do, and fake, fantasy, whatever. That also, but at the same time, it can become a benefit to where it can allow you to be more fluid to eventually recognize something that you haven't seen before also, you see? So when it comes to fake and real and all these things, I would say that especially what we're doing today, especially what's not we, but what is taking place today, and this idea of the fake news has come up, etc. I see it as just basically another ploy to make people think, well, gee, this is fake and that's real. What's the difference? What's the difference if you call your car or your house fake? Okay, this is fake. This is a fake house. This is a fake car. Okay, or this is a real car. It's whatever. Does it change the fact of what it is? When we see chemtrails in the sky, oh, those are fake. Those aren't chemtrails. It's not what they're telling you. No, it is what it is. And so everything is what it is. This is the better view. But at the same time, yes, we play with, we have our own marketing ploy. I won't call it fake. I'll just say we have our own marketing ploy. And that is that we kind of, in a way, this is just one way, we kind of have fun tricking people into being wonderful. You see? Yes, we do. Mr. Bill's a good witness here, but he made the choice, seeing one of the videos, and it worked with him and many others. Worked with Val the second time he came here. It's like, oh, gee, this is a no-brainer, etc. See, again, we're doing this marketing ploy to trick people into being wonderful and waking up and to seeing more, but then again, they decide, and most people come and go. So, yes, Charles, where is the line of all this stuff? It's really rather humorous, isn't it? It really is. So when Ava makes pictures, she takes pictures of other people, then puts my head or her head or Reva's or Paul's head on them.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Hold on one second here. Sorry. So, and then people will say, well, that's fake. Why don't you show your real selves? Well, it's not about me. I have fun pointing to the real side. That's what it's about. Okay, it's not about me. In other words, most things here are about whoever they are. If it's the president, if it's I'll pick on him, Dr. Phil or Dr. Oz or whoever it is, Harry on stage. It's about them, isn't it? It's really about them. Well, I see a bigger picture here, and that is, it's not about me. It's about the whole of life. It's bigger than me. I'm just this little view here. So, and then from that, what I'm experiencing in creation, what is fake and what is real? It's all what it is. And we can call it real or whatever. I use the terms real guidance, real this or whatever. Well, I've used these simply because to create my own position. This is what we're dealing with now, Charles, and it's always an issue, and it's fine. And so for people to better understand, that's why we're doing these conversations. Everything's fine. It's a choice if that's what you want, because everything that you go through, once you see it of a particular way, it can have value, but at the same time, you sort it out. You sort out the value, just like looking through a newspaper. If you're looking for a particular product or whatever, you go through a lot of pages, and maybe you don't find it, or maybe you do. You find what you want. And so this is it too. So I go through a lot, Ava and I do, sometimes finding pictures that suits the idea that we're going to present at that time. And so plus other things come up, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, let's do this. I found this picture here. Let's do this in accordance with this, or what we're doing at OCC or whatever. Okay, etc. So the groups, I create them accordingly too. So what is fake and what is real? Everybody's going to have their take on that. But once you realize, I just wrote a group here too about certain things about education. And all of this is fine, even though the education is very slanted and it's all geared to people becoming slaves of the system and returning for more lifetimes. That's how the educational system is geared. This is why many people are upset with the educational system, simply because, but they can't identify it. They can't identify the whole thing, but they just know that the government educational systems are just not right, but they just can't put their finger on it. So, etc. So this is where we're coming in and presenting something. But in the group, I explained that, yes, this is the process that it goes through, and it's set up a particular way. It's set up to look good. But overall, guess what? It's not good. If you follow it through and that's all you do your whole life, and then go get that 9-to-5 job working for the demise of the planet, basically. Most jobs are contributing to the demise of the planet, and most people don't see that. They're thinking in their mind, oh, this is a good thing. We're recycling cans, whatever. Okay, but when you really investigate the whole picture, see the whole mechanism, you'll see that it's really not that at all. But the best part is that when you do come to this and you do get the real knowledge and understand there is more than just religion, politics, spiritual path, science, and all these things, that there is a true reality. There are real universes that, have nothing to do with the cause and effect of what is taking place here. Then you decide to figure it out, if you do, and make the comparison and see the difference and become more aware. That becomes the difference. And that's really a course of itself on your own. And this is why we have the Skypes, to share these ideas, because all we can do is share ideas, because the real experiences come from each individual, how they decide and how they see them. So, so we're on Earth now, square one, and dealing with what is fake and what is real. Well, to me, everything is fine. I've said it. I've written groups. I'm fine with everything. I really am, because it's all creation. It's just it's a block of clay, and it's what you do with it. So I see what's been created out there, and just like Ava and I, we pick and choose what we feel at that moment. We do the best we can to present something that makes sense, something that's fun, that relates to this true reality, not just sound good ideas. Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we let the world know what's going on with itself. And just like what Kelsey is doing, whatever it is, again, we go back and forth. We do the health thing and whatever, but those are little tidbits, okay? That's not overall us, because that just deals with the personal self, which is fine. But overall, maybe that will bring someone in. Again, we're a little tricky with our marketing. Maybe that will bring someone in to look at the books or whatever, so that they can discover that there's a bigger reality than just their health. So health is fine. Everything's fine. You decide. Yes, you want to maintain that, just like cleaning your house or, washing your car. There's maintenance there, changing your oil. But there's a bigger picture, and that is that you'll have that for a while, but eventually you won't. And when you pass on, even while you're here, it doesn't really matter. All you'll have is the experiences that you have, how you relate to them, and if you've recognized your real awareness or not. Now, you can recognize that anywhere, even when you pass into the astrals or some part of creation. But for the most part, what happens many times is people become so involved, they forget. They forget about all that, and they go off into somewhere else, and then they're gone again. And at some point, they're brought around. Once they've hit all the so-called dead ends or whatever, they come around, and then they start looking for the real guidance again, because the guides don't interfere with people. If people want to pray to gods, they're not going to interfere. You have to want to really see what's real, and most people don't. This is where they really do like the fake news. They really do like their fantasies more so. But again, it's how you see it and coordinate it. So everything is possible to utilize, to recognize more of the true reality life is, but you got to figure that part out. So yes, Charles. In the meantime, we deal with funny stuff in the world, don't we?